Jenny, welcome to Practical Psychology Podcast. And my name is Joseph. I'm the host.
Hi, Joseph. It's nice to see you today.
So,
I'm glad
Jenny,
that
is
I
we are
can.
very happy to see you here. You are just starting your practicum, clinical practicum here for your counseling degree.
Yes, that is right. I am 1 month into my practicum, and I have been seeing quite a few clients.
So, Jenny, here, tell us a little bit about with all the many specialties and profession, why counseling?
Why counseling? So personally, for me, I have always had the passion to help others. But ever since I was really young, this days back in high school, I used to work in voluntary positions, and I used to help others in the food bank or uh, as a volunteer at my school. So this kind of carries on throughout university. And so during my graduate university, the first year of the university, I tried to explore my majors, and I have actually got into multiple subjects such as math, economics, and finally I laid into psychology.
Okay.
And I found
Wow.
out yeah, and I found myself like really enjoyed that subject, and I stick with the major for a total of 4 years. And so that's how I first grounded in psychology. So after the 4 years of undergraduate studies, I really like after I graduate, um, I try to like seek careers and um, just like many like other graduates from art major. So I kind of explored for a few years, but I believe it's 1.5 years, and I've kind of struggled find a stable and to find a stable job. And so I worked in the health administrative programs. And what I did is that um, I really want to see what I can do more. However, like the undergraduate degree in psychology is kind of set the barrier for me because usually like if we want to get dive deeper in mental health program, we usually need a higher degree. So that's why I pursued my master's degree in counseling psychology at Yorkville. And after 2 years, like after 2 years where I studied the course-based subject, now I'm glad I'm in the final state of practicum. So that's kind of my journey.
Well, Jenny, it's great to hear that this passion started when you were very young, with your personality really want to help people many, many years ago.
Yeah. What do I want to help people?
Um, the next question I want to ask you here, Jenny, is now that you finished studying psychology and now you're in the final stretch of the clinical internship, the practice, and practice here. If you think back, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, would you expect what you're doing today?
No, I wouldn't. I remember like 2 or 3 years ago, that dates back to like the end of the fourth year of my undergraduate studies, where like I see like
Yeah.
a lot of my peers who I went to university with, they got a high paid job from high tech companies, and I actually like quite struggled a bit. I put up my resume and applied to hundreds of jobs, and there's like very few that gets back to me. And so I kind of like and the only job I could secure was like a front desk job at a medical center. And yeah, well, it is still a great job where I can interact with the client and
Yeah.
I appreciate helping people. But the the nature of the job duty is kind of repetitive, and I sort of like uh get a little bit tired of that after a year working there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, from your idea of counseling 3 years ago compared to now, you actually do it. How does it compare? Because that would be very interesting for people. Every single day, people want to, I want to study psychology. They have an imagination how it is compared to what it actually is today.
Oh, if I date back to a couple years ago, I would never imagine that now I can actually sit virtually and talk to a client. So before I have seen like some YouTube videos and
Yeah.
podcasts of
Mm.
professional counselors interacting with clients, and I just thought it's
Mm.
really cool. But how they carry themselves confidently, I felt like I would never quite get there. So
Yeah, very good here, Jenny. That is exactly why we are doing this podcast. So, for education, so people know how it actually is, not just the imagination.
yeah,
So,
and
Jenny, if you were to go back to maybe 3 years ago, 2022, that Jenny, she is about to register in counseling master degree program, which is a big commitment here. What would you tell her?
just trust the process and yeah, work hard throughout each course. I was like back then, I was just so worried about how am I going to continue through this journey. And like during the first or second course, I was kind of um I was questioning myself. What's the point of doing that if I'm not going to finish it anyway? So for me, I thought I'm going to quit in the middle of the schoolwork because I was also working a full-time job and I didn't know if I have the enough determination. And however, like through practice, once I got through the second or third course, I kind of got comfortable with the pace and I carried on from there.
Yeah. So, Jenny, here for other people wanting to go into this career or their studies,
Yeah.
what are some of the advice you can tell them? You work a full-time job and study, you can make it, don't give up. Anything like that?
Yeah, I would say like prioritizing and time management would be a very helpful tip. So actually, like I had to switch my full-time job into a part-time job to like balance between income and time spent with my
Mhm.
education. So I would say like um prioritizing is really
Mhm.
important. And
Yeah. Tell us more tips for the
tip
viewers here, Jenny. What are the time management to save time, improve efficiency for you throughout these 2 years of hard work?
hmm. So I've kind of like built myself a schedule and like
Mhm.
the right now getting into practicum, I'm still struggling a bit with management because
Mhm.
there's a lot more to do. I need to balance my coursework and also the practicum where I get to see my client and I'm still working on
Mhm.
that. But I can tell the new students some advice when they first step into the coursework only. So I tend to build myself an agenda. So, like in university, there's like often the deadlines, and for Yorkville, the deadlines are oftentimes Sunday, and I made it Friday. So on my calendar, I intentionally write it like 2 days ahead of the deadline so that like I can constantly
Mhm.
remind myself that the assignment is due earlier rather than like sticking to the deadline, absolute deadline at like how I
Mm.
did in undergraduate studies.
Oh yeah, there's a really good advice here. You make a schedule and
Yeah.
then you also make a shorter timeline or deadline for yourself to keep yourself in track.
Yeah, and so I want to make sure that I have the time to spread out through the whole week to finish my
Mm.
assignment. Also, like we don't want to stress out where like we have to finish 3 assignments in one day. That's an easy way to get burned out.
It's
So,
very interesting here, Jenny. Here you're giving your personal advice that works for you and works for a lot of people too. In a
mhm.
way, it is also in line with psychology research about procrastination. In the psychology research, humans are not good at imagining something too far away. So the standard practice, we call it making shorter deadlines compared to just having one giant deadline far away.
Yeah,
Essentially,
I
what you're doing is here is very successful.
yeah, so like in terms of the assignment, we can also use the SMART goal strategy where we make goals that are achievable, but at the same time like efficient.
What are some of those SMART goals that you made recently?
I made recently. So like we have to finish our 400 hours of practicum
Yeah.
throughout the 8 months, right? So for the first month, I noticed like for during the first 2 weeks, I was going a bit slow as I'm trying to adjust this new pace in practicum. And so I did set up a goal where like I challenged myself to like call clients during the intake process, and I set the goal of where I should like call at least 5 clients each day. And I do that in the morning. For me
Yeah.
personally, I find it like easier to take on more challenging tasks in the morning when I first wake up, because like my mind state is in a more my mind is just in a more clear state. And if I for me like intake for me like talking to some strangers over the phone is the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenge, and I really need to get more comfortable on that. So once I've finished my most challenging task in the morning, I find like the rest of the day more productive, especially when it comes to like writing papers or writing reports. That's the easier part.
Yeah. So Jenny, you're mentioning here about you prioritize the time of the day, also your energy level, and also the difficulty level of the tasks. And
Yeah,
then you also set very specific calling 5 people.
at
Those are
least
all really good principles.
yeah.
Wow. That's amazing here. Jenny, a lot of viewers also want to ask you here. Because in counseling here, they encounter a lot of difficulty when you go into the forums. People are like they cannot find a good, or they cannot even find a clinical internship sites. How is your experience? Any tips for other students?
So any tips for other students who are searching practicum sites?
Oh yeah, they have a lot of difficulty searching a site.
Well, so for me, I actually also encountered difficulties searching for sites. I
Mm.
believe like I searched for 30 sites before I secured
Wow.
only 2 sites. And I would say like start early. So my practicum starts officially start at September, right? So I started my research dated back 1 full year ago, where like I started to go on
2024.
uh yes, last year this time around Halloween.
Okay. Wow.
So I started searching online. I use like the Yorkville practicum site where there is a site locator where you can find like
Mm.
all the sites available, all the approved sites available around your location and also across Canada. And I also set a goal for myself. Like I read and research 2 sites a day, and if I read the introductions and the details on the website and see whether that's a suitable, whether like my skills are suitable for them and whether their requirement, so what they provide is suitable for my education. So from both ways, I research that and mark that on the note on my notes, and I like I put up my resume and email it for the site to the site.
Okay, so Jenny starting ahead, 1 year ahead. And also Jenny here, when you go into interviews here, what are some of the questions that you prepare to ask the site owner or manager to screen in and screen out appropriate sites for you?
Well, so yeah, so for each practicum, they usually it's near the end of the interview, they ask for question, ask students for question.
Yeah.
And so one question I usually ask is that what are some of their advice for practicum students?
Mm.
And
How
also
did
like
they answer you?
they usually answer me like it is not quite directly skill related, because
Okay,
we
yeah.
do learn like a lot of the academic skills from our comprehensive courses. There are a lot of courses which we kind of cover the skills, it is more about our confidence. So the site advisor usually advise us to be more confident in ourselves and really like the most important thing is really to put what we have learned in book to practice. That's like one really important step. If we learn something but never put it into practice, we will never like deliver it to the client.
Okay, so you mentioned two things here, Jenny. One is increasing confidence. The number two thing is how to put what you learn into practice.
Yeah.
Hey, so what are the things that you do to increase your self-confidence in this journey?
So for me, the first step is just to do it. So
Okay.
yeah, actually doing it itself, whether it is successful or not successful itself, build up confidence for me. For instance, like the intake call would be a really good example. During my first intake call, I actually like forgot the name of the client that I was calling because I was so anxious. But I thought the client would be really mad at me, but actually like the client responded with respect. And so like after I would say like the process this got better as I finished more intake calls and I was more confident and more comfortable dealing with clients, even for those who don't cooperate well. Sorry, even for those who are not that cooperative, I stopped taking it personally.
Okay, so the more doing, you build confidence that you are saying, Jenny.
And also there is another tip that I followed. So I try to like so I read through the ethical standards, so making sure that I know what not to do instead of worrying too much about what to do. So making sure that I do no harm to the client. Otherwise, I would be more comfortable um, showing up. I would be more comfortable demonstrating my skills as long as I know like when it comes to a red flag where there's something that I shouldn't do.
So reading the ethical standards and focusing on first what not to do.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. So Jenny, I have another question for you. This one might be a little bit more tough question here.
Okay.
I look at the forum the other day and people are complaining about they chose a practicum site, but they have some regrets about it after a few months. Do you ever have any regrets about the site that you chose?
Not for this site, but I do have regrets toward myself. It's not about the site, but toward myself, where like I had a phone conversation with the client and I thought the client was a really good fit, and I gave up because of my own lack of confidence. So the first time where my supervisor, which is you, offered a funding option for me, like a client who has funding to me, and the first feeling was not excitement, but rather fear. I immediately referred her another to another colleague who speak English as their first language, and as I thought like they are more competent to take the client and help them. Well, it is still a good thing that the client is getting what she needs, and also like my colleague is getting the finding. I'm still happy for that, but I kind of regret like giving up on opportunities.
I see. Okay, yeah. So based on that learning, what is your plan to do next, today or the future?
Today or future.
Yeah.
I would be proactive when it comes to a new opportunity, and I would really like think through and I would think through before like referring it to other people before giving up on the opportunity to see like whether I'm going to be helpful for the client. I'm still like considering it based on the client's interest, but I'm not going to push it away in the first second.
Excellent here, Jenny. Jenny, you also mentioned you speak English as a second language. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your cultural or ethnic background so the viewers know?
Okay, so in terms of counseling or just general
Oh,
background?
just your personal, what is your cultural background?
Well, so for I come from an Asian Chinese cultural background, and I grew
Okay,
up.
yeah.
I spent my adulthood in China, and I
Okay,
moved to
yeah.
Canada during late adolescence. So in my cultural background, um, we communicate to one another in an implicit implicit form.
Okay.
So we are not great at expressing emotions to one another, and
Yeah.
also like if yeah, we're not that transparent. And
Okay, yeah. Yeah, in psychology, you were mentioning about the high context and low context culture.
oh
Low
yeah,
context culture is more expressive. You tell people what is on your mind, generally speaking, okay? High context is more subtle. There's a lot of rituals, ways of doing things
yeah,
that is way. How do you know what without reading in between the lines?
without reading between the lines. Sorry, could you
Yeah, let's say for example, you communicating. If I were to see a client from China,
yeah,
what is your tips for me so I can read the signs to understand more than just verbal?
than just verbal? I would say like, hmm, that's a good
Because
question.
I'll be missing a lot of information if I just rely on verbal, what he or she or they is gonna tell me. But if I cannot read their facial body language,
Oh yeah, I would say like facial body language, but there are some facial languages that's different from Western culture. For example, I
okay,
noticed like for Western culture, if people feel embarrassed
mhm,
or regret towards something, they tend to use very obvious facial expressions such as sticking their tongue out or like crying. But for I
okay,
have seen a Chinese client, and from what I see, like she is not that obvious when it comes to facial expression. However, I can see like from her presence that she's worn out. For example, like she would have that very sad look in her eyes, and like also her also like there's like dark circle, obvious like dark circle under her eyes when like she
okay,
hasn't
yeah,
had
okay.
a good night of sleep. And usually if I ask her, she would say, yeah, like for the past week, I was experiencing insomnia and nightmare. Yeah.
So it seems that you are mentioning about more of the non-verbal, the
Mhm.
eye contact, the facial expression, or the eye circles here. What else? What else would you say to observe as a tips for other counselors?
As a tip for other counselor. Sometimes I don't know if I was doing it right. So like sometimes I would ask them like what if you're doing something like what would you think other people like for example those around you would see a difference in you. So usually like we look at so for our culture like sometimes we look at ourselves from a third person objective. And yeah, if we see ourselves from a third person objective, we can usually like be more clear of our current state.
Okay. So Jenny here, you speak, what is your native language that you speak?
Mandarin.
And I understand you also see some clients who speak Mandarin, is it correct?
Yes, that's correct. I'm seeing one.
Okay. Yeah. And how is the counseling the same or different when you're speaking Mandarin compared to speaking English?
I have to be more indirect. I
Okay.
have to be
Oh,
very, very careful.
okay. Tell us more about it.
Like, so during my first session, I was really struggling because I've encountered a client who was dealing like relationship issues and I couldn't get
Mm,
into the direct topic. I was circling around the topic
mm,
using more indirect words. And usually, like, like for Mandarin, it is very, like, how we phrase it is very, like, it's very difficult because if we like phrase one word
okay.
wrong,
Yeah.
it's completely like different. It has completely different implication.
Yeah. Okay. So the Mandarin language is very different in a way than English.
Very, very different. It's more complex. or maybe like I'm just a second, like I speak English as a second language. Like maybe like for English, there's different contexts where I don't
Okay.
understand quite well.
Okay, yeah. So, Jenny, tell us more a little bit about speaking English as a second language or ESL, and any difficulties you encounter with clients?
With client, oh yeah. So if this comes to so the struggle really rises when I try to speak to a person who speak English as their native language. Sometimes I
Mm,
have all these thoughts in the back of my mind, and once I convert it in English, it tends to be superficial to me. So
okay.
here's the process work. I think of what I want to
Okay.
respond in Mandarin and I
Yeah.
translate it into English. So the process is a bit slower and takes time. And usually like what's reflected in English
Mm,
comes out to me like more clumsy and awkward. And that's what I every time I deliver the speech to the client, I told myself, oh, what am I doing? This is not what I wanted to say.
okay. So, Jenny, it's very interesting here because you mentioned about two things here. One is the doubt of yourself, which is your subjective experience. Number two is the internal translation process here. Maybe tell us a little bit about how do you deal with your self-doubt or confidence about speaking English as a second language in
I
counseling.
think like I look at both sides usually. Like there are some so there are some limitations when it comes to me speaking English as my second language because I cannot communicate with the client as efficiently as
Mm,
if it was my first language. However, this also provides me with an advantage where I can speak multiple language and understand at least two cultures. So that comes to an advantage.
wow.
So I look at it objectively from both sides. There are pros and cons. It's not a complete
Okay.
weakness.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you're mentioning about when you're working with just English speaking client, you give them extra time, I guess.
Yes. But at the same
Okay.
time, I really want to be effective, to be fair to the client because they are spending their time
Mm,
they're sitting in the therapy room for 1 hour. And if I only get through
mm,
like what if I only get through what was covered for half an hour, I would feel guilty.
yeah. So Jenny, you're in the right place here because Canada is very diverse with so many different cultures, blended cultures, and you sit right in a good place here to support a lot of people.
Yeah. There's a great diversity in Canada and I'm really
Yeah.
glad about this situation.
Yeah. And I want to highlight a little bit about here because Jenny, you mentioned you grew up in China,
Mhm.
you experienced that culture, and then you came to Canada here, you experienced the Canadian culture. And in between, you also deal with these adjustment changes. So makes you in a good first person that you not just know as a concept, but you know the adjustment here.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so I built up some resiliency. So when I first came to Canada, I struggled with
Yeah.
language barrier and also the first time living by myself in college.
Yeah. Okay.
And after like a year, I
Mhm.
slowly adjusted to the Canadian culture. So
Yeah.
I can imagine that I can use my own inter resources and help clients who are also facing similar challenges. For example, like new immigrants who struggle to new immigrants who are adjusting the new culture in Canada.
Mm. And in here, I have a very important question. There are a lot of people ask to Jenny.
Yeah.
Um, in any master degree counseling psychology program, they have to study about their multicultural competency.
Okay.
No matter they're in Ontario, Quebec, BC, Alberta here. And a lot of people have never been outside of Canada.
Hmm.
They grew up here, they live here, they will be reading from the books about, okay, learning the cultural humility, learning about other cultures. And what would they be potentially missing compared to your first person perspective or a client first person perspective? They just know the book knowledge, but not the reality. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not sure if this answers the question, but I
Mm,
feel like
mm,
that they can use so there is one benefit when it comes to multicultural environment in Canada. There are like a lot of small communities in Canada where like the
okay.
culture is really rich. For example, like in Richmond, Chinatown, where there's Chinese community, and there's also like First
Mm,
Nation reserves. So yes, so there are a lot of communities.
mm,
It's very like culture diverse, but I can imagine that it's still different from my experience where I grew up in one culture and then like came to another
mm,
culture myself. That'll be different. So I would say like maybe I would encourage them
mm.
to reach out to different cultures
Yeah.
to get a better understanding.
Yeah. So you recommend them to participate in some activities or some groups to learn more about the other culture so they get a real experiential experience, not just reading the books for knowledge.
And also there are a lot of free trainings, there are a lot of
Mm,
free trainings on site, on like virtual trainings where they can learn like how other cultures, uh, where they can learn other cultures. And a lot of those trainings are free.
oh, Jenny, where are some of those trainings for the
Oh,
viewers?
yes, so I have recently found one in like mental health, CMAH. I forgot like the whole term for that.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
CAMH, where they have just published a
Mm.
First Nation Indigenous mental health course, and it is a very comprehensive course
Oh,
which takes
wow.
25 hours.
Okay.
And I myself, I'm looking forward to complete that because I have very little knowledge when it comes to First Nation culture.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Can you send me the link so we put it in this video so all
Of
the
course,
viewers and
yes, I
counselor
have
can see? Okay.
few other courses which I searched up, and those are
Mm.
like all for free. I can also send it to you, but I just can't remember them all for now.
Oh, okay. We'll make sure we put in this video here.
Yes.
Yeah, we are very thankful for this, Jenny.
Hmm.
So, Jenny, here, let's go back a little bit here. Because you mentioned at that time in university, you go through different subjects here. Um, what is your advice for younger people when they're in that confusion about what I should study? What advice would you give the young people? Because I know you like counseling teenagers and young people too.
Yeah. I would say like take it slow. Don't push yourself like too fast.
Mm,
So it is a process of self-discovery that takes time.
mm,
And also like reach out to as many support as possible. So in university, they
okay.
oftentimes they have like academic advisor and career advisors,
Yeah.
and some of them provide you a test where like they can test your personality and which
Mm,
kind of career is most suitable. I did that back in high school.
mm,
And the result shows that I would be like competent when it comes to one-on-one interactive
mm,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah.
Now
So
looking
those
back,
are really good tips here.
yeah. And what else? I would say like in the first year of university, you try to explore your interest
Mm,
and find a balance between your interest and your initial and your talent. Find the middle
okay.
ground.
Yeah. Okay. Take your time. Don't rush. Don't get stuck by yourself. Talk to some of the professionals or support because they already have the tools to help you. Number three is to explore the interests and your talents.
And find the middle ground between that.
Oh, find a middle ground. Okay, yeah,
Yeah. It took me
I
quite a while
see.
to find a middle ground.
Okay. So Jenny, we are close to the end of just today.
Okay.
And are there anything that you want to say to the viewer? If they have any questions about you and want to seek counseling from you, how do they contact you? Do you have a website or page or anything?
Well, I am currently building up my website. So since it is my very first month, I haven't quite have my website
Mhm.
uh, had a like very standardized website yet. But if they have any questions, they can contact me through email.
Okay, we'll put the email in the video description here for everybody.
Yes, thank you. I'll send that information in the chat.
So Jenny here, yeah, I will get it from you after this here. And today we are really thankful to have you to join us here. We will invite you again so we can talk more about a lot of things we want to know about you.
Awesome. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to participate in this discussion as well. And yeah, I'm
Thank you,
looking
Jenny.
forward.
I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.